The next morning, the 60-year-old man walked into the local bank. The building looked modern, tall glass doors, bright white floors, people moving quickly between counters. For almost 40 years, he had worked with numbers, savings accounts, and quiet routines. The bank was the one place where life felt predictable, zany. But today felt different. Today he carried the letter in his pocket. "Do you remember the promise you made?" The words followed him everywhere. He walked past the waiting customers, past the ATM machines, past the loan office. Some employees greeted him. "Good morning, sir." "Morning." But he barely noticed. His mind was somewhere else. He entered his office and closed the door slowly. This small office had been his world for 25 years. On the wall behind his desk hung a framed certificate, Bank Manager of the Year, 2 times. Beside it sat a photo frame, the same photograph he kept at home, the young woman, the smile, the promise. He sat down in his chair. The leather creaked softly. For a long moment he just stared at the letter. Then something unexpected happened. There was a knock on the door. "Sir." He looked up. One of the younger bank tellers stood there. "There's a call for you." "Who is it?" They said. "It is important from the hospital." The word hospital made him pause. "I don't have anyone in the hospital." The teller shrugged. "They insisted." He picked up the phone. "Hello?" For a few seconds there was only silence. Then a soft voice spoke. A voice he had not heard in 38 years. "I wasn't sure you would answer." His heart stopped. He knew that voice, even after all these years. "Is it really you?" he whispered. There was a gentle pause on the line. "Yes." The room suddenly felt smaller. The past had just stepped into the present. "You sent the letter?" "Yes." "Why now?" Another pause. Then she answered quietly. "Because I'm in the hospital." The words hit him harder than expected. "What happened?" "It's my heart again." His chest tightened. The same illness that had taken her away years ago. "I didn't want to disturb your life," she continued softly. "But time doesn't wait forever." He closed his eyes for a moment. "Where are you?" She told him the name of the hospital. "A large medical center, 2 hours away." He looked around his bank office. The desk, the certificates, the quiet life he had built. And he said something simple. "I'm coming." He hung up the phone. For the first time in decades, his routine broke. He walked out of his office, past the tellers, past the waiting customers. One of the employees called after him. "Sir, the loan meeting starts in 20 minutes. He turned briefly. "Reschedule it. Reschedule." He paused. "For tomorrow." Then he walked out of the bank, because something far more important than business had suddenly returned. 2 hours later, he walked into the hospital. Hospitals always have a certain feeling. Bright lights, quiet footsteps, the soft sound of machines, people waiting, hoping, praying. He walked slowly toward the front desk. "I'm here to see a patient." The nurse looked up. "What's the name?" He said it carefully. The nurse checked the computer. "Yes." Then she looked at him. "She's been expecting you." His heart beat faster again. Room 412. The hallway felt longer than it really was. Every step brought him closer to a moment he had imagined for decades. What would he say? What would she say? Would she recognize him? Would the years between them feel like a wall? He finally stopped outside the door. Room 412. He took a slow breath, then he pushed the door open. The room was quiet. A hospital bed near the window, soft light coming through the curtains, machines humming gently, and there she was, older, yes, but unmistakably the same person. Her eyes turned toward the door, For a moment, neither of them spoke. 38 years of silence filled the room. Then she smiled, a soft, familiar smile. You came. He stepped closer, yes. She studied his face. You look different. He laughed softly, so do you. They both smiled. The tension slowly faded. For the first time in nearly 4 decades, they were sitting in the same room again. I heard you became a bank manager, she said. He nodded. I heard you opened a flower shop, he replied. Her eyebrows lifted. My daughter told you? Yes. She looked toward the hospital window. I never stopped thinking about you. His chest tightened again. I thought you forgot. She shook her head gently. Never. Another quiet moment passed. Then she looked at him carefully. Do you still remember the promise? He did not hesitate. Her eyes filled with emotion. Good. Then she asked the question that changed everything. If I asked you to marry me today, would you say yes? The room became completely silent. Even the machines seemed quieter. He stared at her. Marry you? She nodded slowly. I don't know how much time I have left. His heart ached hearing those words. But I know one thing, she continued. You were always the person I wanted to marry. The words carried the weight of 40 years. He looked at her hands resting on the hospital blanket. Then he looked into her eyes. The same eyes from the photograph. The same eyes from the summer afternoon near the bookstore. Only now, they carried decades of life. He took her hand gently. I promised I would find you. She nodded. And you did. He smiled softly. Then I guess there's only one answer, she waited. Yes. A tear rolled down her cheek. Yes, she whispered. Yes. A quiet hospital room, 2 people, 60 years old, and finally, the promise was fulfilled. But the story was not over, because the small hospital wedding that happened 3 days later would soon become the most talked about story in the entire bank. And what the doctors discovered afterward would shock everyone, even them.